Hey, John Jackson here, and I'm going to talk about the three types of lease options. A lot of people don't know there's actually three types of lease options, so let's get into it. The first type of lease option is a straight lease option. Now, where would you use a straight lease option? Well, that's when there's only two parties involved. So maybe you're buying a house and you're going to buy it on a lease option, so that agreement's between you and the seller, right? That is a straight lease option, just two parties involved. Or maybe you have a house and you're going to sell it on a lease option. So now the agreement's between you, the seller, and the buyer. That's just a straight lease option. That's the first type. Then there's a sandwich lease option. What is a sandwich lease option? Well, it's called a sandwich lease option because you stay in the middle. You stay between the seller and the buyer. What does that look like? On a sandwich lease option, you, as the investor, are negotiating the price and the monthly and everything with the seller. And so you agree to a price of, say, $160,000, monthly payment of $1,200 as an example. Well, as soon as you get that lease option between you and that seller, you then turn around and you sublet the house to a buyer. So as soon as you get that contract, boom, baby, you're putting a sign in the yard. No bank qualifying lease option. With this buyer that you're working with, he or she is going to pay you non-refundable option fee. Boom, payday number one. Then they're going to be paying you a monthly payment. So let's say you've got $1,200 going out over here. Maybe this buyer's paying you $1,600 a month. Okay, so you're making $400 a month. Then if this buyer cashes you out in a year, 2 years, 3 years, then you're going to have that equity, the difference between what the buyer's paying for it and what you have the option price for with the seller. So again, three paydays: your option fee, the monthly payment, and the equity when the buyer cashes you out. But it's a sandwich lease option. Buyer pays you, you pay the seller. Buyer pays you, you pay the seller. Here's the thing though, buyer doesn't pay you, you still have to pay the seller, all right? So there's a little bit of risk involved there. That's a sandwich lease option. Then the third type is a lease option assignment. Some people call it a wholesaling lease option. What is a lease option assignment? Well, that's really what we do a lot of. A lease option assignment is where you're working with a seller and you're presenting him with the numbers of a lease option where they're going to get full price, a good monthly payment, and you package that up and you assign that contract to the end buyer. And that buyer is going to pay you an assignment fee, also called option consideration, that we get about 5% option consideration. So on a $300,000 house, we get about $15,000. But that buyer, now you're assigning that contract to that buyer. Now that buyer takes over as your role as the tenant, optionee, and is now making those payments every month to the seller. You as the investor, the nice thing is you have nothing at risk. You weren't making payments on the house, you weren't doing repairs or anything. You were simply marketing that contract to that end buyer. You assign it. That's a lease option assignment. If you want to see these, you can go to our website, leasingtobuy.com. The majority of the properties on there, we've got a lot of seller finance, but the majority of the properties we do are lease option assignments. If you want to see an entire training, just a free training on how we do all this, you can go to 16kdeals.com, 16kdeals, K, the letter K, 16kdeals.com. We got 16kdeals.com because pretty much the lowest amount of option fee we get on a house is about $16,000. So at 16kdeals.com, we've got an entire training, a free training for you to take a peek at. But that is the three types of lease options.